Ladies and gentlemen, with this, I take immense pleasure as I invite Ms. RituMarya, the editor-in-chief of Franchiseindia, to join us on stage and to say a few words as she welcomes all of you wonderful people to the day. Let's hear it loud together as we welcome her. Over to you, Ms. Marya.
So very good morning to all of you, and it is almost unreal for me today to actually see this event happening in person and all of us coming together for this restaurant industry gathering after probably 2 years. And what a tough 2 years it has been. I mean, I think for the industry, it has been unparalleled times. Everybody has been pushed to the wall, to the biggest extreme. And I mean, I think I've personally never seen challenges of this concoction ever in my life before. So I know each one of you have probably faced it in your own way and have got over it. And I know a lot of us in the industry have also got disillusioned because of this pandemic about our future of the restaurant sector. But I can tell you, friends, that this failure is not a personal failure. And you should, while my heart goes out to all of you, but you should not take these things personally. It was a circumstantial failure, and we need to live it that way, because things are going to be better. Because I can tell you this, that regardless of whatever went wrong, the industry has come back. The industry is finding its feet back for the only reason, because our value system is intact. Our value system, our belief system in food, servicing the customer, reaching out to the customer regardless of where he or she was, that is our belief system. And as long as that belief system continues to be strong, we'll be able to fight our way back. So as I said again, welcome back to this forum. This is where we'll discover ideas, renew our friendships, I would say, build new relationships, and build a much stronger industry. So I think going forward, and not just in 2020 or 2021, what we've seen, we're nearly at the end of 21, but I think even going forward in 22, we'll find that some central challenges will keep on being there for the industry, whether it's a pandemic or there is in Delhi, there's been a clear case of, climate change, pollution that got us back into our homes, or probably, some supply chain issues, which will always be on hand. So we need to work our way around those problems and figure out how we're going to keep our business going. One indication that I have clearly sort of seen emerging in these times, and I've been talking to the industry, everybody in the industry fairly much, is that, that it's time to cut out the vanity. It's time to sort of focus or run a tighter ship in the restaurant sector. Now, while that is, of course, true on a macro level for every business, but I don't completely go with this rule book, and there's a reason for it. I feel that the restaurant business is very personal. It's a very entrepreneurial business. There are people who have their own belief system, their own fundamentals of how they view consumer service, of how they view the food that they want to serve to their customer. There are so many different formats which are there in the restaurant sector. So therefore, please do not go with the general rule book. You need to have your own personal playbook of how, whether you want to go by the route of frugality or prodigality, but I think it's personal, and you need to make your own decision when it comes to how you want to run a business. But on a larger scale, I can tell you this, friends, that the greatness of an industry has never come from cutting costs. It has always come from diversification, finding newer opportunities, finding bigger revenue streams. So I think as an industry, we are known for that, and let's continue to go back to our value system, which was to really be giving a good time to people who were our customers, who come to us, who look for fun, who look for experience in our restaurants. It's very important that we live up to those fundamentals of the business. This last 18 months has given me a lot of time to reflect on how the industry has changed. And the new trends that I'm seeing, not just in India, but I think across the globe, that are there in the restaurant sector. So I've sort of tried to bring it down to 6 trends, which I chiefly feel are there in the restaurant industry, in the food service industry, which are there to stay. And I'm going to very quickly share them with you as we kickstart this conference. So I think there has never been a time in the industry when people went to a restaurant with the mindset of what I call the SHT. So what does SHT stand for? It is see your food. We first see our food before we actually order food. Then we hear it from our friends. We probably first see it on Facebook or some other social media. Then we hear about it from our friends. We read the comments. We read the views on some portal. And then finally we taste the food. So now, right from the point where the industry was always about tasting the food, we have got 2 extra layers added in the entire business. Now, these layers have really come because of the digital culture that is so much imposed around us, and pandemic probably brought it out in a big way. So this digital layer that has got added in the restaurant business has actually brought bigger opportunities for the business. And no matter what the current state or any future business decision that you want to take for your restaurant business, it needs to be expanded to include this digital culture. So I would suggest, please don't do anything for short term when it comes to digital. It will require some investment. It will require for you to put together, teams which will be able to manage this. So think of it as a long-term investment, and it is something that's going to be staying with us for a long time. So whether it is building, your own delivery ecosystem, or whether it is having a digital menu, you need to sort of plan it in a much sort of conducive fashion. The second point I would like to make, and it's a very strong feeling that I've had, is that Indian brands particularly, they don't have a real estate arbitrage, and they need to build it. It's very important. The time has come. Fundamentally, how I would like to put is that there is a reason when we look at a mall in India and we see that the anchor brand is a Burger King or a McDonald's or a KFC over there. It's the brands which give value to that real estate, and not the other way around, which might have been the way we have always perceived real estate. And now going forward, when you're adding new revenue streams in a dining area, which could be a takeaway or a curbside pickup or a outdoor dining, or probably even I would say a drive-through in your restaurant, and these would become permanent features more or less in the restaurant. You would probably gonna add, if you don't reduce the dining space, you're gonna end up adding at least 30% more space to your restaurant business or your existing location. So this means that you're going to have a real increase in your real estate spend. So please be sure to realize your own power as a brand when you do your real estate deals, and find that real the value that you have in the real estate and the power that you have in the real estate. The third point I like to make is that food is back again, friends. Food has become very, very powerful in the entire food service equation. Today, I also wear the hat of being the editor of Entrepreneur magazine, and I get to meet a lot of startups, and some of these startups are actually in the food business, in the food tech business, and their entire proposition of business is really based upon just food and convenience. In fact, if you ask me, today brands like cloud kitchens, they hardly know who their customer is. In fact, they've probably never even interacted with their customer directly, unlike restaurateurs who meet their customers face-to-face in the restaurant. So value engineering of food and having a business case around it is going to be extremely important. I've been associated with the industry for over 10 years now, and I can tell you, even with the finest of restaurant, 100 locations, it's hard to find a 50 CR valuation for the entire brand. And there you see a business case which is built around food, and there are billion-dollar companies which are being built around it. So there is a great scale that is waiting to happen in the food business, but you need to find scalable and sustainable business concepts going forward. Fourth thing I would like to highlight is that, of course, which is again around food, that restaurant dining is going to expand. So your entire business cannot be based only on restaurant dine-in. You need to, as I've said, expand your versions, which is ordering, delivery, and everything. So you need to have more simplified menus in order to be able to do all this together. without putting too much manpower. So I think there'll be one side which will be the focus on local ingredients, which are more readily available, which are fresh. And on the second side will be on the frozen foods, which you need to sort of intermix together. Now, trying to swing one way only, which is either frozen or local, is not going to be, again, a very good idea for you in the long run. So it needs to be a mix. And of course, the menus need to be very simplified in order to have a sustainable food supply chain for you. Fifth point is really the elephant in the room, which I want to bring forward. And it's a real problem we're already seeing in the world. And in India, it's only going to become bigger because regardless of the fact that we see so much population and so much ready hands to work in our business, it's not going to be like that. So wage gap that needs to be bridged. And it's very important as restaurateurs that we start building a mindset of having or looking at our teams as our growth partners instead of workers in the growth. And I work across industries, and I can tell you, at least in the white-collar ecosystem, there is such a terrible manpower crunch in India right now. It's hard to find people to do the jobs. You can probably thank it to the gig economy. People do not want to come back to offices. People do not want to work full-time. And it's going to be something that is a reality, even in the restaurant industry going forward, both back of the house and front of the house. So we need to address that issue. It's a big issue, and it's going to only become bigger as we go along. And in fact, once the pandemic actually starts slowing down, lessening, it's going to be even bigger. So we need to address the problem. Sixth point I want to make is that automation is actually a reality, and we need to imbibe it. It's probably going to be the biggest investment you'll need to make in your business in the coming times. So whether it is drone delivery or cooking robots, whichever way you look at automation, it is something that is extremely real, and it's also going to be an answer to your people problems, which are going to crop up in a big way in the coming times. And lastly, my point is that capital is today more readily available than it ever was in the history of the food business. So mind you, there is enough and more liquidity out there in the market for you to raise capital for your sustainable, scalable idea. But you have to understand that what do investors look for? They look for a business which has less risk and higher returns. And therefore, your food business needs to be built in that scale, in that sliding scale, where investors are able to find their case for making that investment. And please don't look for conventional investors all the time. Everybody is an investor today. There are enough angel investors in the ecosystem. Your landlord is an investor. Your neighbor is an angel investor, possibly. So please look far and wide when you come to, when you think of raising some kind of capital for your business. So, with that, I know enough said. There's going to be a lot of learnings for you in the industry. After a 18-month hiatus, everybody has re-engineered their business in a way, and they're going to share some great values with you today. We, of course, have our chairperson, Mr. Raj Burman, who is the managing director of Burger King India, and he's joined us here today to share his valuable thoughts. But the one last remark that I would make for the industry is that entrepreneurship is the hallmark of the food service industry. Young entrepreneurs have always entered this industry with creative ideas, creative restaurants, and we need to keep that going. I know the pandemic has disillusioned a lot of young restaurant owners to probably leave the industry. So I think as senior members of the industry, they need to take more actionable measures to ensure that these young restaurateurs, they sort of stick to the industry for some more time and persevere to see that, and together we will of course sail this boat of challenges that have come on us. So a warm welcome to all of you once again, and I would really like personally, if you have anything that you feel I can help you with, some connections, introductions, I'm more than happy to do it. Happy to meet you in person, but if you want, you can also write to me over LinkedIn. I'm always available. It's like my extended inbox, so please feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to help you in any way. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful long day today. And please, as much as you, of course, network with the speakers, please feel free to meet each other also, and learn from each other, because a lot of answers sometimes are with all of us, and which just need to be brought together. Thank you once again.